With us is Mike Jones. He is a Scientologist. Now, we had said yesterday we had two ex-Scientologists. That's not correct. He's an ex-staff member, but an active Scientologist, Mike Jones. And also Jerry Whitfield, who is an ex-Scientologist, and I welcome both of you to the program today. Thank you for being here. Mike, let's start off with you. What is Scientology?
Well, let me get a couple notes here. Basically, Scientology is defined as knowing how to know. It's a applied philosophy versus just a philosophy that, well, you just think. This is something that you apply to your daily life, and you can find some result and change.
It's a religion?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Anything that consults the mind, the spirit, and a supreme being falls into the category of a religion.
Is there a God?
Well, I believe there is, and I would say that probably most Scientologists believe in a God.
Does this God compare to any God worshipped by any other religion?
I wouldn't know I can only know what it is for me. I couldn't really answer for what other people believe in other religions, other than the fact that you might believe that there's a basic being that created everything. Yes,
Is it the God of the Bible, for example?
The Bible isn't used in Scientology because it actually kind of gets in the way because there is so much contradiction. You know, it's a good moral director, and I honestly believe that Jesus Christ was a very tremendous spiritual individual, and but the thing is that I know about Christianity is that they didn't even write the books of the Bible. The first ones that I understand were not written for 40 to 70 years after his death, and that kind of loses some credibility for me as far as some of what, just as an individual that looks at information and data, and then you analyze it and find out whether it's real for you and if it's something that you can apply. I myself, where I really kind of got turned on to the whole thing, came about at a time when I left my body. And when you are no longer in your body, you come to the realization that you are not your body, you're a spiritual being. And I tuned in real quick to some of the biblical things like man was created in God's image. Well, in essence, I was a mini little God, and I had my body and my effects around me that I had to control. You can make the order of magnitude whatever you want, but I had my own personal universe to control.
Who was L. Ron Hubbard?
Well, he's the developer, the founder of Scientology. He has made the breakthroughs. He discovered it. He, in the early 40s, up to the point, the book came out in 1950, so he'd done all of his research prior to that, before the book came out. And
Which book is that?
Dianetics. Dianetics was the milestone of Scientology coming public. It was a sub-study of Scientology, which deals with the mind primarily. It is, or a true soul is the definition, dia, from the Greek, meaning through, and nous, soul, and so that is how that developed. And he had found that by dealing with people's traumatic situations and their revealing of them in extreme detail, down to, the point of smell, taste, the whole bit, that when that was relived and seen exactly as it was, that whatever additional pain, unconsciousness, effect was then it left with the trauma that was there. And therefore, the key thing is that if you have a similar situation, what that does is that causes the earlier situation to make it a heavier situation to deal with.
At the beginning of every show I discuss religion, I always put this proviso on the program, and that is that I'm an atheist, so I don't they're superior to or inferior to another religion. So I'm not being judgmental. I see all religions as being basically the same. Okay, so understand that going in as I ask you a few questions here. The book Dianetics has been promoted all over the place, in Billboard, on television, even on this radio station. And one thing that troubles me about the Church of Scientology, as opposed to, say, the mainstream religions like the Catholic Church or the Lutheran Church or even the Mormon Church, is that when this book is advertised, it never mentions Scientology, and it never mentions a connection with a religion. It is sold as a self-help book, much like a weight loss book, or much like a, I'm okay, you're okay, or something like that. Why doesn't the advertising tell you that this book is published by a church?
Well, basically, it can stand alone as itself. I mean, the Church of Scientology developed because of the need for further information that the Dianetics, when it was released, I mean, it was not initially the brainstorm to create a church from this. It was demand that brought it on. So it is a study, it is a technology all its own, it is to a large degree separate.
But is there a reason not to mention the connection with the Church of Scientology? I mean, and I ask this for a reason. Because when I lived in New York City, I would walk down the streets of Greenwich Village and be accosted by people who would ask me to come to a room and take a personality test, which sounded interesting enough, and I actually went up and did it. And once I got up there and took the test and the results were compiled, some people laid some heavy pitches on me to become a member of the Church of Scientology. What it seems to me is that in these two ways, the Church of Scientology appears to try to get members without telling people at the beginning that it's a church or that it's a religion, or, in the opinion of some people, because of these tactics, it's been called a cult. How do you feel about that?
Well, any religion, according to the definition, would be considered a cult if you read the definition. I think cult has become a slam word that you can attach to anything that doesn't agree with how you think.
If you're going to accost somebody on the street and ask them to take a test, wouldn't you say, "Hi, I'm from the Church of Scientology," just as somebody might say, "Hi, I'm from the Catholic Church," or "Hi, I'm from the Lutheran Church," or "Hi, I'm from the Mormon Church." And Mormons have come to my door when I lived in Arizona. They came in pairs. They were dressed in white shirts and black ties, and they rode on bicycles, and they said, "Hello there, we're from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints." They didn't come and say, "Gee, how would you like to take a polygamy test today?" They didn't do that. And that's what I'm curious about. Why is it you can't just say it's the Church of Scientology?
Well, I'll tell you, my encounter, okay, now, you have to realize that I'm not trying to defend Scientology. That's what I'm not here for. When I wrote you, I said that my ox had been gored because of a previous show, and that I wanted to express the positive effects. There are millions of people out there that have received good effect from it. And when I initially contacted, or when someone from the Church of Scientology contacted me, they did mention it. So your particular case is a separate incident, and you're saying this doesn't happen to people generally, that when people are accosted on the street and asked to take a personality test, they are generally told that we felt accosted. A person came up to me, I was on my way somewhere, and they asked me if I would stop for a moment, and I stopped. When I say accosted, I don't mean I was molested or mugged. I say somebody came up to me and stopped my flow of what I was doing to ask me some questions. And they never told me they represented a religion. Okay. Well, I don't see why they wouldn't do that. I can't speak for anybody else.
And it's certainly true that the Dianetics commercials and all the advertising don't mention a connection with the Church of Scientology either. And I got to wonder if there's a reason for this.
I don't think it's a necessary thing. Maybe you do, but I think the idea here is that people that are interested in receiving the benefits that are available there will reach. They will use it, they'll apply it, they'll get a positive result. They don't, then they're on their own way.
Now, we're going to take a break here. We'll ask Jerry Whitfield some of these same questions. He is an ex-Scientologist, and we'll try to get to the bottom of all this today. 221, Tom Leykis, live over KFI AM 640. Thursday afternoon, we're talking today about Scientology. Mike Jones, who is an active Scientologist, is with us here in the studio, and also Jerry Whitfield, who is an ex-Scientologist. Jerry, I'm going to ask you some of the same things. I see ad for Dianetics. It never mentions the Church of Scientology. I see personality tech that doesn't mention the Church of Scientology. What's going on?
Well, I think it's a bait and switch technique, basically. I was in Scientology for quite a while, and I believed all the things that I heard while I was in Scientology. And pretty much like Mike, I thought it was probably the greatest thing going. But Scientology has such bad public relations that it, I think, has to go to a number of front groups. And Dianetics is just one of its front groups. The personality test is just another way to basically start talking about a person, give you the guy an evaluation of where they think he is. And I've heard a lot of people who say one of the things they want to do is cave the guy in. Maybe they get girls crying. They make the guy feel real bad, and then they say, "But you don't have to live your life this way. We can help you out. You can come in and get some stuff we call auditing. That's his counseling, and we'll help you out with this and get over this little trauma that you have in your life, or this inferiority, or whatever it is that's substandard about your life. We can fix you up completely."
Now, I'm wondering what exactly is being accomplished by the church. Certainly, there's been a lot of controversy about some of the contributions and where the contributions come from. Is there anything controversial about that, or is that just bad PR?
About the contribution?
Contribution. You read about Lisa Marie Presley giving her fortune over to the Church of Scientology and things like that, and very negative press. Is there something negative about something like that?
I don't know what the Presleys are doing with their fortune. I can't answer that.
Just contributions in general.
But Scientology has what they call hard sell. Their policy is to hard sell, and their definition of hard sell is don't go into agreement with any objection the person has for not purchasing services. And the people who do the hard sell are called registrars. And the registrar is taught within an inch of his life, or her life as the case may be, how to manipulate the person so that the person is willing to give all of their money. If not, and more often, it's more than just all of their money. They'll get a second or third mortgage on their house. They'll max out their credit card. If they don't have a credit card, they're shown what bank to go to get a credit card so that they can get a credit card. A lot of things like that happen, and that's not unusual.
Why would people do that?
Well, if you get a person hooked, if you get a person believing that this is the best thing since sliced bread,
And what are they going to get for giving all that money?
they're going to get what they think is spiritual freedom. Basically, what they really get, and not everybody gets this, but what they really get is they get a feeling of euphoria. They get a feeling of self-worth. I'm sure that Mike has experienced this. I did many times when I was in there. I felt like I was on top of the world. I went into a trance state not knowing that it was a trance state. People don't know what trance states are. So if you talk to them about going into a trance state, how are they going to know whether they went into it or not? Scientology put me into a trance state time and time again. I had no idea that would occur. When a person goes into a trance state, it's not unusual for endorphins to be released into the bloodstream. It's the same endorphins that a person gets when he runs, when they're running. They get a feeling of well-being. It's a physiological thing. There's a chemical that actually goes into the blood. And people feel great. They feel euphoria because they feel higher than they've ever been in their whole life. And they attribute that to Scientology. It's a point of mind control called mystical manipulation or planned spontaneity. In other words, if I can plan something so that it seems like it happened spontaneously, but I knew that it was going to happen all the way along, and you reach that particular thing, you are probably going to have what you call a spiritual experience. And you're going to attribute that to me for being so smart as to put you into that state. There are some problems with that. One problem is that when you're in that state of euphoria, it's like being in love. And when a person is in love, you can also describe that as being like they were intoxicated. The first thing that goes when a person is intoxicated is their judgment. And of course, that's one of the things that happens when a person goes into a trance state, becomes euphoric. The first thing that goes is their critical faculties, their ability to think logically has been reduced in certain aspects, not all the way across the board, but in certain aspects.
We're going to take a break here. We'll continue our conversation about Scientology this afternoon. I'm Tom Leykis. It's 2:30 in Los Angeles. This is KFI AM 640. We continue with our conversation with Mike Jones, who is a Scientologist. Jerry Whitfield is an ex-Scientologist. Mike is a listener of the station. He had written a letter about 3 weeks ago or so to the radio station about coming on to talk about Scientology as a follow-up to a show we did several months ago. Now, one paragraph in your letter, Mike, intrigues me, and I'm concerned about it. It's the final paragraph of your letter, and it says here, quote, "I will be going out on a limb to go on your show, as I can be disciplined if I create any misinterpretations or misunderstandings." What does that mean?
Well, that is probably a paragraph that I regretfully put in there now. But to be honest, the thing is
Well, is that true?
yes, there is ethics in the organizations, and
Don't ethics have something to do with intent? I mean, for example, you came on there and unintentionally created a misimpression. That wouldn't mean you're an unethical person, would it?
no, the point being though that creating a situation to begin with, this is my creation. I was the one who sparked the program from my letter. I take responsibility for my actions. I believe that's one of the primary things that I've learned from Scientology. It's
Is what?
is being responsible for your actions. The point is that I want to continue my pursuit up the bridge, but
Why would you be disciplined? I mean, we've had Catholic journalists who are not necessarily members of the Catholic Church hierarchy come on this program and defend the Catholic Church's attitude toward the pro-life movement, for example. None of these people were afraid of the Pope calling them in and disciplining them. I don't understand why you would be disciplined just for making an appearance and talking about your feelings.
just the airing of the allowing the possibility for negative view of the church to be presented is not really particularly acceptable, but that was something that I chose.
Well, you didn't come on to do that, though. You went on to defend the church. That's what your letter said. How could you be disciplined if you came on with the intent of defending the Church of Scientology?
Obviously, my adversary over here is quite astute in his enunciation of his point of view. He had the advantage of, according to him, that he has had more training and processing than I have had. What I have had, though, doesn't even come close to what he's trying to describe. I mean, I was more aware, not... when I was young, I knew what hypnosis was. I can't say as I've studied it or anything like that, but, I've seen shows where somebody is put under hypnosis and they give a key word, and somewhere along the line, the person jumps up and says, "The British are coming," or something like that. Well, that is not, I don't find that I am anything is being laid in on me that is not of my own volition, my own choice.
I neither jerked the person who jumped up and said the British are coming.
Jerry Whitfield, what kind of discipline are we talking about here?
He could get some pretty heady ethics discipline, but basically what we're looking at is a point of mind control here called ideology over person, or ideology over experience. If his experience is not what the ideology says it is, then his experience is invalid. And it's a point of mind control, and there's a lot of mind control in Scientology. You had all 8 points used on me. There's a lot of thought-stopping techniques. Basically, if someone decides to discipline Mike, and I hope they don't for his sake, because I think he's a good guy and I don't consider him an adversary. I'm sorry that he feels that way towards me. I think we're on the same side. I think he's on the side of truth and justice, and so am I. I also feel that he's been badly misinformed and lied to, just as I was badly misinformed and lied to while I was in the Church of Scientology. Have a lot of evidence to prove that. I've done a lot of research on Scientology in the 6 years I've been out. And it's very difficult to come out from under mind control. It's very difficult to find out if you were hypnotized and how to come out from under it and discover the truth. In fact, most people don't do it, and they don't do it very easily.
I want to go back to the word discipline, though. What kind of discipline could be in store for a member of the Church of Scientology?
In his case, he might be disbarred from further training or processing until he made amends, or he might have a court of ethics, something like that.
Court of ethics?
Yeah, maybe a committee of evidence, something like that, pulled on him to...
Justice by your peers, in essence. Well,
the word ethics, I find to be an interesting use of the word here. I mean, nobody's doing anything unethical here today. Well, the point really coming on with his point of view, Mike, you're coming on with your point of view. You're here with all good intentions, and you seem like an honest person. How could anybody call you unethical?
it's not so much that I'm unethical, because quite frankly, that's the one thing that I have gotten from Scientology was the fact how important ethics are. I mean, I'm a contractor, and in the particular trade that I work in, people in the area that I work, they do work without permits, which gives them an advantage over me because they've got that margin, financial margin. I still pull them, I get the inspections and stuff like that. I deliver what I promise. And to me, that's the crucial point. But the thing that I feel that is so important about Scientology is that it addresses something that I believe deeply within me, and that is that we are immortal beings. We are all little pieces of God, if you want to call God, or infinite creator. It's like we have an infinite co-creatorship.
We're going to take a break here, and we're going to come back. Let me give our telephone numbers. We'll take some calls coming up. I have another question or two for our guests, and we'll get to your telephone calls. One more question I have is about this billboard I keep seeing around town. It's a picture of L. Ron Hubbard walking along the beach, and I saw it on the Sunset Strip, and I've seen it, I guess, out near the airport, and it says, L. Ron Hubbard, 22 national bestsellers, and more to come. How does a man who died several years ago write bestsellers? Does anybody know about this ad?
It's a recompilation of his work. Of course, I see it all the time. Every time I see it, I want to vomit. Because basically, I think there's a lot of untruth, and it's part of the lies that are perpetrated and part of the deceit.
Let me explain. I mean, sometimes I get the feeling from the way Dianetics is promoted and from this billboard that people want you to believe L. Ron Hubbard is still alive.
They believe he's still alive. They said he ascended. He died a death just like you and I will die. His body was old and worn out. It had a lot of illnesses and a lot of problems. Dianetics is supposed to fix all that. It didn't. There's a lot of people who've died who've been in Dianetics. For example, the lady who first reached what they call New Era Dianetics for operating Satan's New Era Dianetics rotation, which is now called OT7. When you finish that, you're supposed to be completely healthy. You're not supposed to have physical pain, physical ailment, and you're supposed to be emotionally pain-free and no psychosomatic illnesses. This lady died. Her name was Betty Feliski. Betty Feliski died within 6 months after finishing that from cancer. There's a lot of Scientologists that have died from cancer, and yet Scientology says it can cure cancer. If it does? It does.
I've never seen anything written that said if it can cure cancer.
Perhaps you should go read History of Man, page 20, and it says in the middle of the page, Dianetics can cure cancer. If you haven't seen it, you should go look it up. But that's the whole point. To see, this type of deceit, this type of thing that people are told, and then this is hidden. Most people don't know that Betty Feliski's dead, and she reached OT7 a few years ago. Most people don't know that she's dead. Most people get into Scientology or Dianetics, and they say, well, you can go clear. And clear's the state in Scientology whereby you're not supposed to have psychosomatic illnesses. You're not supposed to have psychosomatics. You're supposed to be well. You're supposed to be happy. And as soon as you reach the state of clear, what happens? Well, everybody says it's wonderful. They give you a big certificate. They put it on the wall. And then they hand you an issue that says you're at risk until you do OT3. Well, wait a minute. I thought I had all these wonderful things. IQ is 135, perfect memory, perfect eyesight, don't have to wear glasses, don't have any body pains. But now I'm at risk till I do OT3? Well, what's OT3? OT3 is where they say you have hundreds of thousands of souls of men who died 75 million years ago attached to your body. Now, they don't call them souls. They call them body Satans. That's their word for a spirit, Satan, and they're attached to your body. Hundreds of thousands of these are attached to your body. They have the right to believe in that. I think it's science fiction. People probably pay between $40,000 and $80,000 to get to this point. Why don't you tell me up front? This is Dianetics. I'm going to tell you what it takes to go clear. As soon as you go clear, we're going to completely invalidate that state. We're going to tell you that you can die of pneumonia if you don't hurry up and get up to OT3. And then when you get to OT3, we're going to tell you that you're going to start practicing demonology. Well, you're not practicing demonology. They'll say, well, when you're exercising hundreds of thousands of souls of men who died 75 million years ago, I call it demonology. And that's OT3. It is going to cost you between $40,000 and $80,000 to get there and find that out. Tell me up front. Let me know. Is this what I want to get involved in? Don't do a bait and switch number on me. And that's my problem with Scientology. Maybe Mike would like to respond.
The one thing that has always been known to me is that if you're not happy, you get your money back. So
That's not true. There's a lot of people who'd like to get their money back. You know, a gentleman right now.
they say so right on the contract, right on the receipt. So how can they deny? You know that I've never seen anybody have any. I don't know anybody.
I'd like to get my money back. I'd love to get my money back. I can put you in touch with probably hundreds, if not thousands, of people who would like to get their money back. Perhaps some people will call in and tell you that they haven't been able to get their money back. I know a gentleman who put over $250,000 in this year and is still fighting to get his money back. They won't get it back. He's gotten attorneys. So what Mike is saying is his understanding, and Scientology, that's called his reality, and what's true for him is true for him. He believes this, and Mike's not a bad guy. But what he doesn't know is the other side of Scientology. He has no idea what's really going on.
We'll continue our conversation. Get to your telephone calls coming up 2:55 now before 3 o'clock. Tom Leykis over KFI AM 640. We are talking during this segment of our program about Scientology, in case you're just tuning in. With us is ex-Scientologist Jerry Whitfield and currently active Scientologist Mike Jones, who is a listener to the program. He'd written us a letter, wanted to come on the program and talk about Scientology, and that's exactly what we've done. We encourage you to write in. Who knows, maybe you'll become a guest or you'll suggest somebody we will use on the air. Or you can fax us as well, but if you'd like to write, just send it to Tom Leykis. That's KFI Radio, Los Angeles 90005. Again, that's Tom Leykis, KFI Radio, Los Angeles 90005. Up on the program next week, comedian Richard Belzer will be with us. I'm caller from Los Angeles on KFI. Hello?
Hello?
Yes.
I'm one of those people would love to have my money back. I would OT3, and that's what got me out. And I would love to have my money back. Just if he had some ideas that it's possible, I encourage him to try to help me.
Were you told you couldn't have it back?
Oh, you did arrest because it's admitting that Scientology doesn't work. When you want your money back, you're saying it didn't work.
So you did OT3 and you found out it didn't work.
Well, if you believe that there's these entities connected to your bodies from 75 million years ago, then I guess it would work, but I don't believe that.
You don't like practicing demonology.
No, I don't.
You don't like it being called OT3 instead.
No, and I don't like paying all the money I paid for Dianetics to find out it wasn't Dianetics. It was actually these entities that's really causing the world's problem.
What kind of money are we talking about?
Oh, I paid $13,000, and I was one of the ones that put it on my credit card. That's how gullible I was.
Got your credit card paid off yet?
No, I haven't. I'm sorry.
Many years ago?
Well, reason to be worried because it's like speaking out, you're not one of our clans anymore. You're not part of the gang. And so the gang mentality turns on you. And he does have a reason to be worried now.
Well, there's one thing about the truth. An ounce of truth will sink our town alive.
Right. But it's only when, it's exposed, like what you're doing. I think it takes a lot of courage to speak up, and I really admire that.
I think it takes a lot of courage for Mike to be here, and I'm glad that he has the integrity to stand up and speak for what he thinks is right, and he certainly has that right. Scientology even says he has that right.
Thank you for the call, Sarah. I appreciate it. Here's a fax we got from somebody who identifies herself as Mary in Glendale. She says she's a professional person with 10 years of work experience, master's degree. She says she has, here's her Scientology background, 1 year in Scientology. She's clear. She spent $60,000, maxed out all her credit cards, cleared her IRA, borrowed money. And then she said here, what I lost in Scientology. And then she gives a list. It says, all my money, my fiancé with whom I was with for 4 years, my memories, my happiness, and my friends. She says here, my boyfriend got involved with Sterling Management, a company to help promote and build his practice. Now I know it's a front for Scientology. His personality changed immediately. He became selfish, arrogant, unemotional. He spent over $40,000 in 1 week. Out of love and concern, I volunteered to find out what Scientology was all about. After completing the personality test, the man put me in a room and proceeded to tear into my life, tell me the things that were wrong with me and how Scientology could fix it all. For 3.5 hours, I cried while he, quote, tried to help me. The following are only a few of the things he said. I was sexually abused or molested as a child or in a past life, and that's why I haven't had any good relationships. I never was abused or molested. I was hiding out in this body, a female body, because I had done something terrible in my past life that I was ashamed of. He also said, how could I put a dollar value on happiness and spiritual freedom, not just for this lifetime, but for all future lifetimes? How could I be so shallow to be materialistic about a house, car, etc.? Scientology would give me so much that the money spent on materialistic things I cared about would no longer be important to me. All my questions and uncertainties in life would be resolved. I would be able to handle and resolve everything that came up in life. I would have the ability to know things. None of the things they promised happened, and here are only 3 examples. I cry even more now, hurt more, and often depressed, especially for what they did to me. My anger regarding Scientology keeps me going to help others stay out of cults. They promised total recall of everything, even all past lives. My memory got worse. I became disorganized. I have blank spots. No memory of periods of my life. She says I have headaches and an ulcer which worsened when I got involved with Scientology. And then she goes on to say they made me disconnect from my mother, with whom I love. They made my fiancé disconnect from me, drained me financially of everything I've worked for the past 10 years, gave me headaches, nightmares, depression, distrust, unhappiness. And she goes on to say there's so much more to tell you. In some ways, Scientology is dangerous and harmful, and no one should be involved with it. Anyone can get caught in their web and not even realize that they can't get out. Yes, even well-educated, normal-looking persons that aren't messed up.
That's very true. And Scientology does spend millions of dollars to keep that sort of information away from its members. Now, the people that Scientology has helped and the people that have gotten better in Scientology, I don't have a problem with. I think that's great. I think that if people get help from any source, it's good. But when that help's perverted and used against people, I have a real problem with that. And there's a lot of people out there. And most of them are too intimidated to talk out about it. And like I said, Scientology does that. They spend a lot of money on it. One of their books is The Art of War. And they say that you always attack, you never defend, that you attack the attacker. There are no skirmishes. There are only major battles. And every major battle must be won. I often Scientologists call it.
Do you have a copy of that?
It's called The Art of War, and you can get it in different bookstores.
Mike, what about this story here? Are these people making these stories up just trying to discredit Scientology? Do you think any of this is true?
Well, you got me stumped.
Do people max out their credit cards and give all the money to Scientology? Do they clear out their IRAs?
I was never in that capacity to really know that.
You didn't do that?
No,
I've never been encouraged to do that?
No, I have always had, I guess, enough of my own personal self-determinism to go after what I want and not really be, forced into something that I didn't want. So, that's all I can say.
Now, why do I keep hearing this phrase that I maxed out all my credit cards? So are people just simultaneously doing this with no encouragement? They just came up with this idea, or is somebody telling them to do it?
Scientology would say there's a conspiracy out there telling people to say this and that it's a whole lie. But there's too many people from too many different areas in the United States and in the world that say the same thing. And if you think I'm lying, go down and talk to one of the registrars in Scientology. Go down there and ask them, hey, look, I don't have any money, but I've got a credit card with a $20,000 limit. What do you think? I should max it out? See what they say.
All right, we'll continue our conversation coming up. 319, Tom Leykis over KFI AM 640. On here with Mike Jones, who is a Scientologist, and ex-Scientologist Jerry Whitfield. Here's Betty, a first-time caller from Desert Hot Springs on KFI. Hello.
Hi.
Hi, Betty.
Tom, I'm not a Scientologist, but I thought maybe people out there would like to know how the children of Scientologist staff members live in Los Angeles. And I am an eyewitness of what I speak. My son got into it on the personality test thing. We were living in another state at the time, and foolish mother, I paid little attention. However, later they got so deep in debt, they sold a house, paid off the debts, went on staff. The children lead a tough life. They are being denied their childhood. The child care place is at 1845 North Bronson. That's the corner of Bronson and Franklin in Hollywood. The children there are kept extremely busy. I have never seen a chair there. They do not eat meals with their parents. The parents do not put them to bed at night. They take community showers in the evening, come out, hope to find the right clothes, put the play clothes back on, and go to sleep on what they call peacots.
I heard about peacocks for a long time, and I finally asked them what my grandchildren were talking about, and the peacocks are cots that are saturated with urine, and they reek, and the whole building used to smell like that. When the kids come to me to visit, they had lice so much, so often, that I finally set up a certain system so that I didn't have to disinfect the whole house. I just kept big bottles of lice shampoo in the house, and when the grandchildren came, I just took them straight to the bathroom for delousing and baths and clean clothes, and it was much simpler after that. The medical care is, they seem to believe, I'm not technically into this like perhaps Mike and Jerry, but I know that I have been forbidden to even give so much as a Tylenol to one of the grandchildren who was visiting here who had 104 fever. And I went ahead and did it, and when she got back, she had to have some kind of...
Who is she?
My granddaughter.
I think she's talking about her daughter-in-law when she came back.
Oh, yeah, excuse me. So when I took her bath, I said she has been very, very ill. I tried usual remedies. I couldn't get the fever down, and rather than to take her to the hospital, I gave her Tylenol. And she was very upset with me and said now she would have to have it penciled out of what I had done to her. They do pencil the children. They put them on a thing. My grandson had been on a thing like an e-meter, which is kind of like a lie detector thing. And they ask him questions like, what do mommy and daddy talk about when they are alone? What does grandma say to you?
Sounds like Hitler to me.
What?
Sounds like Hitler to me.
Well, it's frightening. They get broken sleep at night. They often are not picked up. The granddaughter sometimes is not picked up for days at a time. The grandson is picked up in the middle of the night. The daughter, too, sometimes. They go home. The mother is wound up. They rent a movie, perhaps, and actually get to bed at 3 o'clock in the morning, yet they contend the children get quite sufficient rest. A child with learning disabilities has no chance in this thing. The granddaughter has multiple problems. She does strange things like go to a swimming pool and sit around a man, and in a few minutes she's sitting on his lap kind of fondling his face and chest, and I have to go over there and recover her. These men don't know what to do when she acts like that, and I have my own suspicions as to what's going on there. Sometimes when the mother goes to pick up the children at night, the little girl has 2 shifts. She has one double shift at this place on Bats, and then they take her to another place for a full second shift at 5 o'clock. She goes there. The mother picks her up 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and sometimes is too tired to go on. She crawls onto the couch with my granddaughter, who sleeps with 2 boys, and they all sleep there together till morning because the mother is just too tired to go on. My grandson has called me, Colette, as late as 10 o'clock at night. He has the full day of school, plus he goes back at 5 o'clock to this place on Bratson that I mentioned. If he has been a good boy all day and done his military drills, at ease, attention, and all that stuff, if he has done these exactly right, then he gets supper. But if not, he is denied his meals. He's called me late at night and says, I gotta go back to school, and I say, why? And he says, we're doing a thing called KR, which is how to fill out a report on somebody that has disobeyed some Scientology rule. He's called me late at night and said, Grandma, we just finished scrubbing floors, and it would be like 10:30, and I have phone bill to prove this. And I'd say, what are you doing up at 10:30? He says, well, Grandma, it was either scrub floors or go to sleep on the peacocks. And I just think that people out there ought to know that children are in this. They're not being treated as children. They're being treated as adults. Many of them are considered finished with their education at age 12 and can go on full-time Scientology service. And I'd like to caution other parents out there, if their kids are getting into anything, they'd better find out about it. I wish to God I had. That children are counseled so that they don't need their parents. And they're building a children's ranch somewhere. I don't know where. I've tried with the authorities to check it out. At that time, the children will be physically removed. As I said, they don't get meals with their parents. They don't get put to bed with their parents. But now they won't even be in the same town with their parents. And this will be the final separation. There used to be a thing called family time in the early evening when parents were encouraged to go and visit their children. And I was there one evening. As I said, there are no chairs in this building. Parents are walking up and down the hall or sitting on the floor, visiting their child. And this one father was leaving. I will never forget this. The father was in full military-type uniform, and a little boy about 4 was hanging onto his leg, and the father was trying to leave the building, dragging the boy behind him, and the little boy was sobbing his heart out. And he kept saying, Daddy, Daddy, and the man said, I have to go to work. And this little boy said, but why, Daddy, why? And I think the reason is these people have believed that they've got to go out and save the world at whatever cost. They don't. They lose track of time. My daughter-in-law drove without a driver's license for 2 years until I finally grabbed her and took her down and made her take the test, and I paid for the driver's license because she didn't have any money. They are so into this that their own children are being destroyed in front of them, and they don't even see it. They don't understand.
I had a friend who told me one time that her son grew up and she didn't notice.
Well, I think that would apply. It really does apply, and these children are being denied. What troubles will they have as adults if they've never had a childhood? The isolation unit in this place is so bad that the children say...
Isolation unit?
Yes, there is an isolation unit. This is for children who are sick. The medical treatment is to examine your thoughts and see what bad thoughts that you've had towards Scientology or what bad thoughts you've thought about something or other, because this it may be what caused the illness, you see.
That's the sort of mind control called guilt manipulation.
Well, they go into this ISO, the kids call it ISO, and they tell me, Grandma, if you're not sick when you go in, you soon will be, because it really, really smells very, very bad in there. And the food, like grandson hates the food, institution food, I don't care how much, you know.
Mike, let me ask Mike a question here. Mike, every time we do a show about Scientology, we get called like this.
Okay.
Mike, are these people making this up? What's going on?
Well, I don't think it sounds realistic to me.
Do you support this kind of treatment of human beings?
I personally never saw this type of treatment, so I can't say, I'm not trying to defend anything here. All I was trying to do was speak what it had done for me. There are positive aspects. Jerry said there were positive aspects. He received benefits himself.
That I had no problem with that. Problem with the things like this lady Betty's talking about. Or the lady Sarah was talking about, can't get her money back, maxed out her credit cards.
I would too. And I don't have, I believe in ethics, justice, and, the pursuit of happiness. And
Why doesn't it happen in Scientology?
it has for me. And it's not that
There's more to Scientology than you, Mike.
I'm not saying that there isn't.
Yeah, but the thing is, and I think most Scientologists are like Mike. They are very well-intentioned. I would say 95 to 99% of the people in Scientology are just like Mike. They're well-intentioned. They're kept in the dark. They're told things other than what really have happened. And if they have a question, they're given some truth and some lie. They believe the truth, and therefore the lie sounds pretty plausible, and they believe that too. A lot of thought-stopping techniques are used on people in Scientology so that a person doesn't know how to think critically. We look at commercials and we should think, hey, what about these commercials? Should we believe this? How can we decide whether this commercial is true or not true? And if we could apply that same thing towards Scientology, Scientology is extremely critical of anyone who's critical of it. If they use that same critical prowess on itself and look as deeply into the source of Scientology and find out, is Scientology really based on black magic? Scientologists don't know what black magic is, but Ron Hubbard was working in black magic in the 40s. He was very interested in it. And Scientology is based on black magic.
We'll continue our conversation coming up. Betty, I thank you for the call, and I do empathize with your situation. I really do. It's 3:27 before 4 o'clock. Tom Leykis live over KFI AM 640. With us in studio is ex-Scientologist Jerry Whitfield and actor Scientologist Mike Jones. Here's Bruce, a first-time caller from Tustin on KFI. Hello.
Hi, how you doing?
Okay.
Oh boy, this is fun.
Oh, we did.
Yeah, listen, I just want to make a point very clear to the public. You have an accident that's occurred on your show. And the accident is that you have a person that's armed to the teeth that probably makes money or makes some part of his living attacking Scientology. You have another guy who totally didn't know what he was walking into.
Well, he didn't walk into it. He wrote to us and asked to appear on the program.
I understand.
And we didn't seek him out.
From your producer just apologized to me right before I called and agreed that it was a mistake.
That what was a mistake?
That you have an uninformed Scientologist who does not know the background or the information regarding why the...
Well, it sounds to me like you want to be the guest on the program. And every time we have a listener as a guest, we get one of these callers who says the guest is uninformed, and then they imply that they are far more informed than the guest who's sitting out.
They're not necessarily informed either.
Well, how do you know whether the guest is informed?
Well, because I can hear him on the show, and I've been in Scientology for 13 years.
What about these calls we've been getting? Let's forget the guest here, okay? Let's talk about the calls we've been getting, the letters we've been getting. Every time we talk about Scientology, we get these reports, and then we have people calling in like you who say it's a bunch of lies, it's a pack of lies. Everybody trying to discredit the Church of Scientology. Well, I want to know why this conspiracy would exist. Why would all these people be out to get the Church of Scientology?
Ask me a question.
I just did.
What's the question?
If you'd shut your mouth, you'd hear it. I've been nice talking to you. You have a nice day out there, okay? Bye-bye. Here's Susan, a first-time caller from Glendale on KFI. Hello.
Hello?
Yeah.
I just want to say in my story that I think Scientology is very harmful, and it's really bad, and I'll publicly talking to you. I've lost a lot of money. I've lost all my friends, my family, everything, and it's very bad. I don't think there's anything good in it at all. I used up all my money. They help you get loans, personal loans, to take out more and more money. They find every means in every way possible to get all your money. When I told them I was unhappy, they put me in ethics. I told them that it was brainwashing and it was wrong. They put me in ethics, so it was 3 hours until I had to read bulletins after bulletins on how to disseminate and answer Scientology questions. When I was going through auditing, I told them how bad it was. I didn't believe it. It wasn't working. They put me in 3 months of repair sessions until I finally just said, stop, I can't take this anymore. They look and they look to find something to fix, and if they can't find anything to fix, make it up.
And it's always your fault, is that right?
What?
And it's always your fault.
Always your fault. If something's wrong, they blame it on you. They'll find it, they'll fix it, and nothing is your fault. They just put it on you.
That's a point of mind control called ideology over experience. If your experience does not agree with their ideology, your experience is wrong.
They make you disconnect from everybody, and then they teach you the skills on how to disconnect from everybody when you don't agree and when you don't like it.
If you had known all of that before you got into Scientology, you would have gotten in.
They told us that they could make us our relationship better. We went to the chaplain. Both of us were in. We went to the chaplain. We tried to get counseling. We tried everything. And the bottom line is the stronger one of you, the one that's suckered in most, is the one that leaves you. And then they just teach you how to disconnect. They can turn off emotions in no time at all. They become very uncaring, unemotional, selfish people, and they do it without blinking an eye.
Unfortunately, that's true. What happens is there's a group personality that gets formed from the person who gets involved with the group, and it supersedes and superimposes the real personality. And it's very easier to trigger the group personality. There are certain buzzwords, the language becomes loaded, you don't talk English anymore, you talk Scientologese, and it's very easy to get the person into that state of thinking. If you had known all of it before you got into Scientology, would you have ever gotten in?
I would never have gotten in if they told me that they were going to use brainwashing. I'm calm now, sorry. If, for example, you want to learn to stop smoking, and I had a choice to say I'm going to be hypnotized and not smoke, I had that choice to be hypnotized and stop smoking. If I want to be happy, and they chose and they told me you were going to be hypnotized, so you will then be happy, I can choose whether I want to be hypnotized or brainwashed, but they do it without telling you. They don't tell you what they're going to do until it's too late. And then you don't even know what has happened to you. That's the most bad part. The people who are in now, my boyfriend, I don't recognize him at all. There's not one bit of him that I fell in love with remains.
Susan, thank you very much for the call. We'll continue our conversation coming up. It's 3:45, 3:45. Tom Leykis. We continue with our guest. With us is Mike Jones, who's an active Scientologist, and ex-Scientologist Jerry Whitfield. Here's Nicole, a first-time caller from Los Angeles on KFI. Hello.
Hello?
Yes?
Hi. I just want to say that this guy is obviously unexperienced, the Scientologist representative, in what he has to say. He's very new, it seems like. It just seems that he got himself into...
Wait a minute. His letter says, and I believe him, that he's been a Scientologist for 14 years.
The guy who wrote in?
Mike Jones, yeah, 14 years.
Well, okay, but it seems like...
What do you mean he's very new?
It seems like he's not very had on how to present himself publicly.
Let's get over. All right, Nicole. I want to defend Mike for a second here because I don't think whether you think Mike is a good spokesperson or not is relevant. What about? No, I'm gonna ask you. I want to ask you. We're gonna let you defend Scientology right now, Nicole. I want to find out from you where all these calls and letters have been coming from. Where are these stories coming from? I want you to tell me. Let's get over Mike now. Let you tell us since you're the better spokesperson. Go right ahead.
No, I just want to say that for me...
No. I want you to answer my question. Don't start tap dancing around. I want to know where all these stories are coming from. Nicole, we're waiting for your answer.
Okay, I'll tell you.
Go.
Those people have whatever they have going on themselves. Me personally...
Are you telling me that the people who call in are responsible for their kid having to sleep in urine-soaked mattresses? Can you explain that one to me, please?
I just want to say that I'm doing very...
You just don't want to answer the question, do you?
No, that's not true.
Nice talking to you, Nicole. You answer the question. I want to know about the urine-soaked mattresses. Do you believe that's true?
I I have no idea.
You have no idea. So, what do you think of the people calling in? Do you think they're making these stories
I
up?
think that they definitely don't have a lot of information.
Oh, wait a minute. Don't they know? How much information does it take to know if your grandchild is sleeping in a urine-soaked mattress? Can you tell me?
Oh, did the grandchild tell them?
The woman was at the center at 1438 North Franklin. She knew where it was, and she's been there, and she said so.
Okay, but let me tell you,
Don't tell me. Do you think that woman was lying or not?
no, because I am a title psychology, and I never slept in any urine, so
So she's a liar. She's a liar, right? All the callers are liars. Everybody who has something negative to say about Scientology is a liar. Is that right? Is that right? Is that right? Is that right? Answer the question, Nicole. Is that right? Yes or no? Is everybody who's calling in with a negative experience lying? Yes or no?
I have no answer to that.
You have no answer to that, and we have no more. You're damn straight. Nice talking to you, Nicole. Oh, man. Janet is a first-time caller from San Diego on KFI. Hello.
Hi, I have a question for Mike, and I want to know, he keeps talking about these higher ethics that he is experiencing being in the Church of Scientology. I want to know if he considers lying to be a higher ethic. First of all, the Church of Scientology lies to its members, and it misleads them from the start. And second of all, what about TRL? Don't they have training routines where you sit in front of an auditor and your purpose is to lie and for them to try and...
Mike doesn't know about TRL. Pay routine lie is a secret policy that's practiced within one compartment of Scientology where a person is taught to lie convincingly. Mike is not in that compartment of Scientology, and most public Scientologists or even staff members don't know about that one. I don't know how you found out about it. It's tried that Scientology spends millions of dollars to keep that kind of information suppressed. You're not supposed to know about it.
Well, I have experienced it personally. My ex-husband is a Scientologist. He got involved in Scientology through latch management. They broke up our marriage.
Latch management? Is that like Sterling management?
No, like Sterling management for chiropractors. And they came in, and we thought we were going to increase our income by signing up with them. And we had no idea from the start that they were having anything to do with Scientology. And when I found out about it, they had these personality tests. And when I found out about it, I didn't want to have anything to do with it. So they told my husband, who was going along with it, that not to listen to the words that I had to say, that I was a critical and negative person, and he should never take my advice on anything. And consequently broke up our marriage. And we had 2 children. And I have been lied to repeatedly. I have proof that I've been lied to by my ex-husband. And as far as his ethics, things have gone down the drain since he's been in Scientology.
Janet, I thank you for the call. Our final moment's coming up here, 3:54:06 now, before 4 o'clock. Guest Mike Jones, who is an active Scientologist, and Jerry Whitfield, who is an ex-Scientologist. Would you each, I guess, 30 seconds to kind of wrap up? Mike Jones, 30 seconds. Capsulize your position today.
Well, I'll tell you, it's been an interesting experience being here today. It's very hard for me, after hearing what I've heard, to not believe some things, and to, because of the information that I've been given, has been all on my own determinism, and I have found that it works. That's about all I can honestly say.
Jerry Whitfield, 30 seconds.
Well, Scientology does can make people feel good. I'll never argue that they have the technology to make people feel good. If that means it works, then, so does cocaine and so does alcohol. So does a good meal and so does good sex. So that, you can put a lot of things in that category. I think that if Scientology is going to continue to act the way it does, that it should be exposed. People should know all of the facts up front. Scientology says it believes in freedom of speech for everyone. I think that includes myself, and that includes you, Tom, and that includes those people who've been harmed by Scientology, and that a person has the right to know the whole story before they get involved.
Thank you both for being here today and for an interesting conversation as we continue this afternoon. I'm Tom Leykis. It's 4 o'clock in Los Angeles. This is KFI.